Welcome in to another episode of Building the Pride podcast. Of course, I am your host, Drew, and I am joined, as always, by my co-host, Mike. Mike, how are you?
I'm doing fantastic, Drew. How about yourself?
I had a good day. I had a negative interaction on Facebook, but I had a good day overall. So, kind of a give and take a little bit, I think. But overall, I'm very positive.
Excellent. It's good to have a positive day to start.
Yeah.
I say to start the week when it's Tuesday. But really, doesn't everybody's week start with the show?
Technically Sunday's the start of the week, so we're midweek.
That's a good point. That's a good point.
So happy midweek to everybody out
there. Early midweek. Fantastic. And the best part of this early midweek is the fact that the Lions are NFC North leaders right now.
Yes, they are.
Super Bowl or bust, right, Donkey Kong?
Well,
Monday
I don't know.
The week.
So this is the debate, right? This is the question.
Work week, calendar week, where are we talking, right?
Yeah. So, I believe that Sunday was traditionally the start of the week because
that's when the Lord rested.
Right.
That's the end of the week.
Is it?
He did all that work all the way up through there, and then he rested at the end of his week. Yeah, it is a lot of work. That's a lot
of stuff going on. So I know that some people say that Sunday is actually the official start of the week, and I'm not exactly sure why, but I know the work week starts on Monday because that's when I'm obligated to go do stuff. So,
but the real start of the week starts with this show. So right.
Dozens of people are waiting for the show.
Tens and tens of people.
Two
of which are participating right now.
Yeah. Donkey Kong and mystery guest. So
yes. So let's go to news and notes around the NFL.
Mm-hmm.
There were a lot of games going on. Not a ton of just news. Let's talk games. What were the ones that kind of stood out to you?
Well, the Lions game was in all fairness, the Lions game was the one that stood out the most because I'm a fan of theirs.
Right.
I watched the Carolina and Minnesota game, which I'll never get back. But the thought that I had this week, just paying attention to the games and watching the 3 or 4 that I watched was, I don't understand. This is detrimental to our podcast, but I don't understand the NFL at all. I didn't get it. Houston's out here beating Pittsburgh, kind of a shocker. Arizona, I think this was a week ago, beat Dallas, and I'm like, what is happening?
Miami got their asses handed to them by Buffalo after putting up 50. I mean, I think asses handed because they just got done beating somebody by 50 points and putting up 70, right?
Now, Denver's bad, but I mean, you'd expect a better showing than what they put up. And then, Chicago's being Chicago, giving up 17 unanswered in the fourth to lose by 3 points at home, I felt like, on a day where Justin Fields played pretty well, and that's all wasted because they handed it back, and so it's but we had 2 games where there were 2 0-3s playing one another. And Carolina and Chicago lost. So now the Bears, if the draft were today, have the number 1 and number 2 overall picks in the NFL draft.
Again.
It's hilarious.
They had the number 1 pick that they traded away, weren't they?
So they had the number 1 pick last year, and they traded that to Carolina of all teams.
Because they had their quarterback.
Yeah, he had him. They didn't need to draft one.
Yeah.
And then now they got him again.
Yeah. And I don't know, maybe they're tanking for Caleb Williams.
As one does. I would do it in a heartbeat.
Yeah.
If you were hey, and so Andrew Brandt, who I believe was the former general manager of the Packers, said something on Twitter the other day where he's I don't understand the concept of tanking. No player and no coach is going to go out there and
lose on
I'm their
purpose.
defense. The quarterback class is far better.
Oh, in their
Yes,
defense.
in their defense. Gotcha.
Yeah.
So Andrew Brandt put out this tweet that basically said, I'm sorry, he X'd that this he doesn't get tanking because like no player and no coach is going to go out and give anything less than 100% of what they're capable of, because it's their job to play and coach in this league, and no one's going to hire them if they don't show that all the time. And I agree with that, which is why tanking doesn't take place. The only way that tanking could ever take place in the NFL is if a GM did what like Brad Pitt did in the movie Moneyball, where he basically like, yeah, we traded this guy and that guy and sent these 3 guys down to the minors. So go out there and do whatever you can with the guys you got.
With what you got left. Yeah, good luck.
Right. So unless you want to have a fire sale right before the deadline, there's no concept of tanking. It can't actually happen.
Yeah. It's more about strategic use of your resources.
Yeah, like Brian Flores a couple years ago was playing Ryan Fitzpatrick over Tua, I believe in Tua's rookie year.
Yeah.
And like the GM's like, we want you to play Tua because I think that he A, wanted to develop the quarterback, and B, get a better draft pick. And Flores was like, nah, I'm going to play the quarterback that gives us the best chance to win. That's Ryan Fitzpatrick. Tua can learn. And then Brian Flores got fired. So that was an attempt to tank. Stephen Ross, the owner of the Dolphins and a Michigan alum, I might add, straight up wanted to tank. So doesn't actually take place.
So in the different scores I thought were interesting. Obviously, the Bills beating up on Dolphins 48-20 was a bit of a surprise. I was a little surprised. I don't want to say I was surprised that the 49ers blew out the Cardinals. It was 35-16, but I was a little surprised at how good McCaffrey's looked. He has been everywhere. And so he was more the surprise than the score. Like, it was the Cardinals. I expected them to get beat, but McCaffrey looked really, really strong. And Mahomes looked really, really pedestrian in their squeaker of a game over the Jets, 23-20.
Somebody took Christian McCaffrey 3rd overall in their fantasy draft. I'm not going to name names, but and he was mocked amongst the people doing it for saying, like, you took him way too high. He's like the 8th rated player in fantasy or whatever. And I was like, okay, whatevs. And then like, I just want Christian McCaffrey.
Yeah. And their quarterback was Mr. Irrelevant. That's nothing more than a game manager. You need a guy like Christian McCaffrey to run things.
He had 4 touchdowns this weekend. Yeah. That's what I would be thrilled if running back, wide receiver on my starting lineup all had 1 touchdown in my fantasy week, and the guy just accomplished that all by himself. So I was like, neat, So yeah, he's been a wonderful addition. So, and to be honest, kind of what I thought Jahmyr Gibbs would look like. Now it's 4 weeks
at some point, maybe, right?
Yeah, but like I thought that he would be used in the style of a Christian McCaffrey.
Yeah, or a Deebo Samuel ish. So I did see a stat that said Zach Wilson of the New York Jets football
Fighting
club,
Jets.
The Fighting Jets. He is the first and only quarterback to, and I don't know if this is true or not. I just saw it online, so it's on the internet. It's probably false or skewed in some way. But it was the first quarterback to beat Mahomes in every major category: more yards, more completions, higher percentage, more touchdowns, and like fewer interceptions.
You're 6.
Which I'm like, interesting. But like, it was Zach Wilson that did it. Out of all the people in the NFL, like, Zach Wilson was the first one to do this. And I'd like to point out he still lost. So
right.
That just tells you kind of how bad Mahomes played. He was not particularly good, but good enough to win. That's W's are all that count at the end.
So like the worst performance for Mahomes ever.
Yeah.
Was a win for his team and he looked quote unquote pedestrian.
Yeah.
Oh no!
Take it.
You know, like, the horror. We never should have traded up for this guy in our 2 Super Bowls, and you know, like.
Yeah, I mean, we had a starting quarterback. Why did we throw away Alex Smith?
Yeah. Oh, Alex, we wish he had you back, if only. So, yeah.
So the other thing around the news and notes around the NFL that I wanted to talk about was something you and I talked about over lunch, which is, and you touched on it with the Bears, currently 0-4, and currently with the number 1 and number 2 overall pick. And you had an interesting take on what that might mean for the Lions with them in that position.
So prepare thyself, Lion fan, for the apocalypse could be upon us. So, because on that, what is it, the 8th day, 7th day, he rested?
7th, yeah.
7th, yeah.
Sunday.
So, Sunday, right. The last day of the week. So there is a scenario out there. I think it's as the Bears continue to lose, or as the Panthers continue to lose, we play the Panthers next week. There is a scenario out there where Chicago ends up with 2 chances at the number 1 pick. If they get the number 1 pick, regardless of where the other pick is, they should take Caleb Williams. Why? A couple of reasons. Number 1, I think it's a lot more attractive to take arguably the best quarterback prospect since Trevor Lawrence, if not Andrew Luck. So we're going back 10 years there, right? Maybe, or 3 years. Just depends on how Trevor Lawrence turns out. But there hasn't been this kind of hype around a prospect since those guys. So if you do take him and he's willing to play for you because he's already put out multiple statements about
my teams.
Here are my 5 teams. I love living in Los Angeles. I can make more money in NIL than I can on a rookie deal, which is a real problem. Yeah. He might though, Don. He might. So and I'm going to get to why. So Don was excellent there. You gave me the segue. Yeah. So why might Caleb Williams go there? Here's the other reason. You do have another, I'm assuming, top 10, top 5 pick. So you can get, maybe that's Marvin Harrison Jr. Maybe that's Olu Fashionow, left tackle from Penn State. And then you would have Fashionow and Darnell Wright as your bookends, franchise quarterback. Maybe you don't do that. Maybe you say Marvin Harrison Jr., DJ Moore, Darnell Mooney, not a bad group of people to throw to. You're probably going to come out and say, like, okay, hey, guess what, Caleb? I mean, we're the 4th biggest market in the United States of America. You're going to have an opportunity here to, like, put your brand out. You're the face of the franchise. We're going to involve you in decision-making. That kind of stuff. But here's the thing that I think more than all of that could be attractive to him is who's their next head coach. Because if they're picking 1, everybody's probably getting fired. Maybe Ryan Poole's job gets saved. I don't know. But the head coach and the coaching staff is definitely getting fired.
The GM that picked Justin Fields, and now they're going to take a different franchise quarterback 2 years later, 3 years later is going to. I think that's sketchy too, right?
It depends on what. Yeah, it depends on what the owner, how you pitch that to your owner.
Yeah.
So here's the thing that I think affects Detroit. What if they hire Ben Johnson to be their next head coach?
I mean, if you've got Caleb Williams on your team because you're drafting him number 1.
Right.
God, that would be beautiful.
So they're going to make that hire before the draft happens, right? So it'll be the Monday after the week 17, week 18. That's Black Monday, right? So it's like everybody gets fired, and you start your quarterback. You start your searches, your head coaching searches. So what if that is?
They may even start that. They may start that early.
Yeah, who knows?
To almost ensure they get that number 1 pick.
Right.
Right.
So in this what if scenario, I'm not saying this is likely, but in this what if scenario, you're the Bears. It's February. You hire Ben Johnson to be your new head coach. He goes out, handpicks some guys. Hey, we're going to try this thing in Chicago. Now Caleb Williams is like, I'm going to be the number 1 overall pick. You know, I'm going to have this guy who's like look what he did for Jared Goff. Look what he could do for me.
Offensive genius, the mastermind. Right? Yeah.
And this team has got multiple picks in multiple rounds and over $100 million in free agency money to go out and support me. I think there's a case there that would be like, okay, Caleb, like, I know you want to live in like Los Angeles or where have you, but there's no one that's going to be able to. Ben Johnson will be the Chargers' next head coach with Herbert. Entirely possible.
Yeah,
entirely possible.
That'd be a fun team to watch too.
So let's turn the perspective around a little bit. Let's look at this from Ben Johnson's perspective. You said no to those jobs last year, right? So The way that the season has shaped up, this bet on staying with Detroit for a lot more money, I might add, good job, Ben, has been like Brandon Staley looks like he could get fired, or the team with the number 1 draft pick is likely to fire their coach and draft Caleb Williams. Those two things sound like real attractive options, especially if it's like, I get to live in LA, I get to coach Justin Herbert, do whatever I want. Maybe you keep Kellen Moore on and you pair 2 of the up and coming offensive minds in the NFL together with somebody that can actually make something out of Justin Herbert. So, and I like Justin Herbert fine. I think that I don't know that the
top
issues.
5 QB.
Yeah, I don't know that the issues surrounding the Chargers are on Justin Herbert.
He's kind of going through the same thing Stafford did. Great quarterback. He's not the problem there. They're just not winning.
Right. And to Don Burr's point here, like Brad Holmes will own this division for years. There is a scenario out there where Caleb Williams is like, nah, I don't want to play in an outdoor stadium in Chicago with that weather, regardless. Right. And if they don't hire the coach that he wants to play for, I mean, like, and they can't ask him, I guess, really, before the draft, like, hey, Caleb, who do you want us to hire as your head coach? Because that's who we'll hire, right? Like, unless they can pry Lincoln
Riley. That's a lot of power for a 21-year-old.
Yeah. Unless they're going to pry Lincoln Riley out of LA, I don't know that there's a coach that you can say, oh, okay, we'll give him whatever. I mean, like Lincoln Riley, I don't know if you heard about what they gave him to come up to get out of Oklahoma. It was amazing.
Yeah. I mean,
so like,
if you got it, take it.
Yeah. He is set up at USC. I mean, like, I think that's the perfect college football is just some guys are pro football coaches. Some guys are college football coaches. Yeah. I think Lincoln Riley is a college football coach and a really, to be honest, a really good one. Yeah. So
not all of them can be Pete Carroll's where they can go from one to the other and do really well.
And to this nonsense with the number 1 and number 2 picks for the Bears, there's also a world where it's like, oh, okay, Caleb doesn't want to play for us. He said that he won't come out and do it. We'll trade the number 1 pick for a haul, and we'll take Drake May at 2.
Yeah. That'd be absurd, right?
So Don Burr is very enthusiastic and very up and positive about this, and like to his point,
Bread gnomes,
right? Shameless plug, I love it.
Shameless plug. Yeah.
Regardless of what Chicago does in the offseason, I do think Detroit is 2 years ahead of wherever Chicago is now or will be at the end of the season. And like the problem with becoming a better football team is always slowing down on how far you can advance. I don't want to say it's easy to go from like 3 wins to 9 wins like they did last year, but like it's not unheard of to go from like a 3-win team to a 6-win team and then to a 9-win team.
Right.
But like,
which is kind of what we're doing, hopefully.
Right. So I mean, like, I think that kind of possibility, like a 6-game jump from one season to the next, is possible. Brad and Dan achieved it. I did want to say that I heard a new nickname for Dan Campbell that I thought was funny. Man Campbell.
Man Campbell, because he's the man. All right.
Which I thought was cute.
Yeah.
But But like, what I'm saying is like Chicago has a lot of money. They have a lot of draft picks. It seems like they're drafting at the right time to get their biggest need, which is a quarterback. And that situation could become more attractive than the dumpster fire that it currently is today. Because my favorite story my favorite story from the last 2 weeks was when I read something on The Athletic that was like $100,000 of landscaping equipment stolen from Soldier Field. Like, that field is so trash anyways, and now they have even less to maintain it. It's just hilarious.
And you have to know that's a lot of equipment, right? So like their trailers full of shit probably going in and out. And
yeah.
How does that not get like?
I mean, it's not like we're picking up coins off the sidewalk.
Yeah. If it's just weed whackers, there's a billion of them, right? So you're talking like heavier machinery and like riders and.
I mean, but think the balls. It's got to be like, okay, dudes, we're planning this heist. What are we hitting? A credit union? No, dude, we're straight up gonna steal landscaping equipment from the Chicago Bears.
They'll never see it coming.
Like, whatever. What's the haul? Oh, $100K in shit that you can't move.
That's not true. That's not true.
I desperately want there to be
flush with that stuff.
I desperately want there to be a group out there that's like Chicago Landscaping LLC, and they just started it up with $100K in stolen landscaping equipment from Soldier Field.
You don't seed money if you could just get the equipment for free.
To Don's point, like, that's the state of the Chicago Bears, right? So like when he's saying like trust in Brad Holmes, like we're going to own the division. I agree with him, but like, I think my point is that it's just like other teams are never going to stop trying to get better, right? So like the next challenge is how do you fend those teams off?
So what do you feel the biggest difference is in leadership between what Chicago is, because they're a shit show, right?
Yeah,
I mean, it's just
terrible.
It seems inept all over the place. And as Detroit Lions fans, we've seen that, right? We've had that ourselves. So what do you see as the biggest difference between what Dan Campbell, Brad Holmes, Sheila Fordham, like what we're doing now versus what Chicago's doing and what we did in the past? Like,
so I hate to say this because I've railed against this the whole time, but I got to admit defeat on this, right? It's the fucking culture.
It's very big of you.
Yeah. So I was wrong. Culture. So it's the culture. And so here's why I was wrong. I'm basically about talent. Like, I think that talent is the common denominator for NFL teams. Where do you have talent? Anywhere and everywhere, you'll win. Okay. I still believe that's mostly true. Like, if you're just more talented, whether that's in your coaching staff, your training room, or on the field itself, I think that you will win more football games than you're going to lose.
Right.
Okay. So then, as someone pointed out to me recently, there's more than one way to build a football team. So
was it me?
It was not. It was Colton Pouncey, the Lions beat writer for The Athletic on Twitter. And you
just ignored all the times I told you that, huh? And then you're like, oh, Colton said it, so it must be true. You son of a bitch.
In the same way that you ignore my advice about magic and believe everything that Alan tells you. So,
that's fair.
But that's an inside joke to everybody. The tone that the Lions have set by, hey, this is what we're about. You have to buy in. We're going to go get our guys who believe in the same kind of thing that we're doing, who accept coaching in the way that we want to coach, the way that we think we're going to make them be successful as players, has everybody marching in the same direction. And what I don't see right now in Chicago is buy-in, right? There's no buy-in because there's no trust.
Yeah. There's no vision, there's no trust. Yep.
So here, Chase Claypool, which I believe somebody in chat, I think it was Don, brought up earlier. Like, Chase Claypool gets asked by a reporter, hey, do you think they're using you correctly? No. Straight no. Like, no explanation, one-word answer. if you go back and you watch game 1, Chase Claypool's out here like jogging through his routes. I mean, you can't go out on the field and show that and then say they're using you incorrectly because you didn't put the effort out. So why didn't he want to put the effort out? Now, this was a guy that was in Paris for Fashion Week, right when the off-season, what is it? Not mandatory. Off-season workouts were going on, and like you've got in Detroit, you've got Aiden showing up, bringing in other guys, talking to people, getting fired up to get better. He's in Paris for Fashion Week. Okay, fine. Kayvon Thibodeau plays chess. Chase Claypool wants to be in Paris for Fashion Week. Cool. You have other interests, but not while you're a football player, you don't. And so then you go out and you give that week 1 performance. Week 3, you get asked like, oh, do you think they're using you right? And you say no. Okay.
And he's not the only guy, right?
No.
Because Justin Fields also said that.
He said that.
He's like, he liked coaching. The coaching has been bad. I'm like, oh, snap. They're the guys that let you play.
Yeah. And like DJ Moore was no, I'm not DJ Moore. They played Tampa Bay. The Bears played Tampa Bay earlier in the season. And I think it was Devin White for the Bucks, the linebacker. I think it's Devin White. One of the Bucks linebackers was mic'd up, and he asked DJ Moore, the guy they traded the number 1 pick for, basically. They're like, hey, he's like, hey, they're not using you right. And like DJ Moore's like, yeah, I know. And that's on, we know that now. We know that conversation took place. This is what the players think.
Yeah.
So they're not buying into what the coaching staff is trying to get them to do. So, and it's not being successful, or the coaching staff is trying to put players in positions they're not going to be successful. So like, and you and I have talked a number of times on this podcast, like one of the best things that we think that Ben Johnson has done is put Goff into a system that emphasizes what he's good at and limits what he's not good at.
Yeah.
And you're getting the best out of Goff that you can probably get. And so he's maximized Jared Goff. They're not doing that in Chicago. If you get that kind of attitude and culture in there and those players buy in, there's enough talent there to challenge the Lions, but not right now.
Yeah.
You have to keep hoping that Ryan Poles is the GM, Eberflus is the head coach, they stick with Justin Fields, they don't go to AstroTurf or whatever, and that everything just remains the same. Because what remains is dysfunctional.
Yeah, I think Fields can be a good quarterback. I think, like you said, it's just
going to be in Atlanta.
The whole organizational. It'll have to be somewhere else because it's a dysfunctional organization right now with poor leadership, lack of buy-in, lack of trust between the players and the coaches, and just like to clarify, like what Justin Fields said about coaching was when he was asked. I think it was Wednesday. Last Wednesday, about the 0-2 problems that their team was facing, or maybe it was a couple weeks ago. And his quote was, it could be coaching. Like, oh, you just literally threw those coaches on. He has since apologized and, that's not what I meant. But like, I've never heard a player go, I think our problem might be coaching. Say
you don't hear it much.
Yeah.
So that's the problem that I see the Bears have.
Yeah. And we don't have that, right? We've got a guy that came in and Dan Campbell.
We lost everybody.
This is what we're going to be. Yeah. That's all right. It's all right. But like Campbell's like, this is what we're going to be. We're going to be a hard-nosed, gritty team. We're going to bring in those people. And if you're not that, we don't want you. We also want you to be good, but we also want you to be this. And they kind of bought into that right from the start.
So when that moment for me with Dan Campbell was on Hard Knocks, like at the end of the show, the interviewer, the reporter, was like, she asked him something like, if you could describe this team in like 10 words or whatever, or 3 words.
It was like one word. Finish the sentence kind of
and
thing.
He took
the Detroit Lions are
right.
And
he took like 30 seconds to answer, and it was like, Dan, what are we dead air right now? Are you not going to answer? But he was considering what he was going to say, because he realized that it's going to set the tone for everything that they're trying to do. And like, that's not by design.
Yeah.
You know? Or I'm sorry, I misspoke.
Design.
That's by design.
Yeah.
Like that comes from conversations you have with Sheila, with Brad, the players, the tone that you want to set, the kind of leader that you want to be shows itself in those kinds of questions.
Yeah.
And like, I like that Dan Campbell is a head coach first and not trying to do like be the offensive coordinator, be the defensive coordinator. He's got a lane and he's kind of sticking to it. And that's just working right now for the Detroit Lions, you know. And, you know, I got into it with somebody today on Facebook because the internet's the best place to have disagreements.
Yeah.
Who's like, we need to apologize to Aaron Glenn. And I was like, we do what? Aaron Glenn doesn't need us to apologize to him. Aaron Glenn is out there doing his job. He's got the actual tools, you know, to do it. Aiden's in year 2. Like Aiden, his pass rush win rate doubled so far from last year. Last year he was winning like 11% of his pass rushes. He's up to like 20%. Yeah. You know, like, and I don't know what the difference is. Is it just now you've scouted and played against these guys and you have that knowledge under your belt? Maybe you learned a trick or you got better with your jump or better with your hands. You know how to time snaps. What is it? All of it? Some of it? I don't know. But Aiden got better. You added Brian Branch. You went out and signed Cam Sutton. You know, Chauncey Gardner-Johnson was out there for 15 minutes. So, like, they gave him what he wanted, what he needed.
Yeah. Let's transition from the disaster that is Chicago and how we're better than them to how we are way better than Green Bay. We both went in 2-1. You know, two wins, 1 loss, and walloped them. Like it wasn't as close as the score makes it look, and we still beat them by 2 touchdowns.
Right.
It was what 27-3 at halftime.
Yeah, it was. I believe. Like I saw the score and I was like, okay, what? You know, like what's happened here? You know, and like 24 points and a half, having to catch up, having to share time, is you're basically saying you have to be perfect for a whole half of football to come back from that deficit. And it was good because they did score twice, you know, and they converted a 2-point conversion, but like, it was just too big of a lead. And Detroit, I think this is a kind of win where it's like, hey, we got up big. Now you learn how to like kill the dying animal, right? Like you put your boot on their neck and you just bear down until they quit moving. Like that's what they did. And like this is 4 in a row now over the Packers.
Yes.
So I mean, like, hooray. You know, like this is great, you know, and like this is the kind of like consistent trend building activity where it's like, okay, this is the type of thing to me that says they're not the same Detroit Lions. You know, so the consistency, the reversing of the history, that's the thing, and they're gone again. That's the thing that is going to change the mindset about who this team is and what they're going to be in the future.
Yeah, I was I follow a bunch of different Facebook groups, and I was in one that was a LA Rams one, because I like to keep up on how Stafford's doing and all that kind of stuff. Mm-hmm. And one of the things that they talked about in that group, I saw a post and they're saying, you know what, I'm watching the Lions game right now. And they said, remember back in about 2016, 2015, when we went into Seattle on their turf after they won a couple Super Bowls, and we punched them in the mouth and we said, we own this division now. He's like, I feel like that's what I'm watching in this Detroit Green Bay game. They're going into Green Bay. They're making a statement that the NFC North now runs through Detroit, not Green Bay. And I'm like, that's exactly the way. I never knew how that felt before, right? The last time anything ran through Detroit, usually it was the other team's running backs, but like playoff wise, it was back with Barry Sanders, and I was younger, right? So this is the first time in 30 years where the division that we're in runs through us. Like, we control this division right now. And I thought it felt really good. It was weird. Like, I don't understand this feeling. I haven't had it in 3 decades. But, like, we've got this. Like, I think that we just took a stranglehold. I mean, it doesn't hurt that Chicago is a shit show and they're winless, and Minnesota
is terrible.
To be honest, not much different than last year. Their point differential is only like -5, but they just can't seem to win. They lose a lot of really close games. Last year, they won a bunch of really close games. They would win close games or get blown out. And that's why they ended up with a negative point differential. So, like, we got 2 really bad teams, and we got Green Bay. And they're not particularly great. So I think we're going to have a stranglehold on this division for quite a while, at least for this year. Like, I don't think it's unless there's an injury, assuming health, I think we will steamroll this division and have it locked up by probably week 14.
Yeah, I think Thanksgiving would be a good, because we go, I think we play
Green Bay
the Bears and the Vikings. It's something like the Bears, somebody else, the Bears. And then at the end of the season, it's the Vikings, the Cowboys, the Vikings.
Yeah.
So how many wins can you get in the division by Thanksgiving? That's when you play the Packers, right? Like,
yep.
I think that's the game that's going to decide the division. If you can beat Green Bay on Thanksgiving, you'll have the clear head-to-head with the only team that's probably going to be in the running for the division. So win on Thanksgiving, because that's my favorite day to watch football. So, I mean, I would love to watch the Lions win on Thanksgiving.
Yeah.
For once.
So what were your thoughts on the game, other than just we started out with just an abhorrent interception. It was a terrible throw. And then they got nowhere, kicked a field goal. And then we went back down and scored like 5 straight series, I think. So the start was really disappointing. And then it was great because we overcame that. That's something that I don't think Goff has done very well in the past. And this year and last year, I don't know if it's the confidence or the scheme or if he just feels more at home, but he's been able to go, I made a mistake. Let me fix that. Let me remediate that by scoring, kind of thing. So that was kind of what I saw from the start of that game. What were your thoughts on the
game? Me, the most promising thing about the game was that there was just consistent pressure from the defensive line the entire game. So when there's consistent pressure from the defensive line, and what I mean by that is Aiden Hutchinson's going to get pressure. He leads the NFL. He's tied with Max Crosby, who is the only other. I mean, Max Crosby generates more pressures over the last 5 years than anybody else. He just doesn't get as many sacks, but he generates pressure. And that's who Aiden is turning out to be, is like Max Crosby. And
okay, I'll take that.
Right. Like, Max Crosby is a $100 million player. He happens to play for the Las Vegas Raiders, so that's a real bummer. But
for him.
But it doesn't seem to matter what teams do against Aiden Hutchinson. You can line up as a slot receiver 20 times in a game, he'll generate pressure. You can double him, he generates pressure. You can chip him with a running back and a tight end, he generates pressure. And the thing is, if you have guys, McNeil, Buggs, Charles Harris, anybody else, Romeo Corral.
McNeil had a great game again.
Right. Like, and if you can just have one of those guys every so often take what he's given, beat someone one-on-one and get to Jordan Love or get to Justin Fields or whatever, then this pass rush is going to be fine, and you can drop 7. And you have to drop 7. You need to drop 7 in the modern NFL. And so, like, there's that. Brian Branch looked great.
Did you throw up a little in your mouth when he went down hurt and you're like, oh my God, please, Lord, don't let this be what I think this might be?
So I was listening to the game live through NFL.com from the Packers radio announcer, so that wasn't that fun. But, like, they were like, ooh, and Branch is down. And they're like, that's a real shame, because you could tell that they already had, like, a begrudging respect for the dude.
Yeah. And probably also a little bit of a smile on their face, because it's one less.
You can't help it.
Stone up defense.
I mean, it's not like we were crying when Aaron Rodgers was taking that last look around Lambeau, son of a bitch.
Yeah.
So,
with laughter, maybe.
They don't play until Sunday. So, I mean, like, as of today's practice, like, I don't think that he participated. So I don't know that he's on track to play Sunday quite yet. We're going to see Thursday, Friday, I think, whether or not he's on schedule to play. But I said last week, Brian Branch and Aiden Hutchinson are the future of this defense.
Yeah.
And Brian Branch looks like, I mean, I follow Mike Renner, who was formerly the lead draft analyst for PFF. He's at somewhere else doing something else now, but he was like, Brian Branch would be my defensive rookie of the year through the first 4 games. You know,
I think that makes sense.
And I'm thinking, like, cool. And then every day I wake up and I just say, thank you, Jacksonville, for taking Trayvon Walker over Aiden Hutchinson, because Trent Baalke hates Jim Harbaugh so much that he wouldn't draft Aiden Hutchinson number 1. You know, because I can't imagine what this defense would look like without Aiden Hutchinson on it. So, yeah.
Worse.
Yeah, different. So, my biggest takeaway from the Packers game was when the defense plays in this particular way, generating pressure with 4, the defense works. And what happened was they got up early and played from the front and won. And that's the method every team in the NFL wants, right? Like, is to get up, in this case, huge. And then the other thing I took away from this game is, like, when they showed pictures of the stands, it wasn't green and yellow. It was Honolulu blue and silver. And I'm like, how
Did
the
you see
hell?
That Green Bay had they ended up releasing a statement like a PR
don't
statement
sell
on
your
it.
tickets to other teams' fans.
Well, they basically said, hey, we understand, we encourage Green Bay season ticket holders to sell tickets to other Green Bay fans. But we understand the secondary market. You can't control that necessarily. And we will have and Lambeau Field's such an iconic destination. Our opponents tend to bring fans, and just like we travel well. We expect our opponents are going to travel well because our facility is so iconic. And I'm just like, and then you said it, and especially in division games. But also there's some proximity there too, right?
You play in an outdoor stadium in Wisconsin. You don't have an iconic venue.
Oh, don't tell them that.
You have a glorified backyard.
Shots fired from Drew at any Lambeau Field fans.
The most famous thing about your stadium is your players trying to jump out of it when they score touchdowns. So, like, even when they're successful, they didn't want to be there. So,
yeah, I
mean, just ask the Jets' injured quarterback. So, the Packers have been absolute assholes as far as, like, the fans and their organization, and they've been successful for a long time. So you got to get to be assholes when you're really successful. But they're not.
Like the Red Wings won. They were in the playoffs 25 straight years. They won 6. Red Wings fans were not assholes.
Ask Colorado fans if they were assholes.
You know what? I think you'd be surprised at how much respect there was between the two teams.
Yes, I think you're confusing respect
hockey's
and
a bit different.
Yeah.
What's that?
I think you're confusing respect and hatred.
So I don't know. Hockey's a little bit different too, though.
Yeah. Anyways, as far as the Packers are concerned, I don't mind seeing them taking down 3 pegs like they are playing like this year. So,
yeah,
I'm happy they went in. That was a solid thumping. No one had anything else to say about it other than that. It was fun to watch. It was fun to listen to.
Yeah.
And I just hope that Brian Branch gets back as soon as possible, because we got Carolina coming up on Sunday. And I very much want to keep them winless so that the Bears can have the number 1 pick in the draft. So
they can or can't?
Well, I mean, like, that's just the thing, right? Like, this is the kind of – this is the – well, then the they should let the Panthers win. But like,
no, I mean, I don't want them to beat us, but I
Right.
also don't want Chicago to have the number 1 pick. So,
well, I mean, like you can't have it both ways
of those
this
can
week.
you can not this week, yeah,
Not this week. So,
so let's because we talk about analytics and building the team. Let's switch over to talking about some of our grades. Before we go from week 4 to week 5, let's take a peek here. Move that over there. So this was just for this past week on our offense. Let me see if I can boost it up a little bit better there. Our top 5 guys: Josh Reynolds, David Montgomery, Amon-Ra St. Brown, Glasgow, and Ragnow. Daryl Daniels and Goff, they're outside of the top 5, but like 72.9 is nothing to sneeze at. Like, that's not a bad score. Anything in that green is good.
He's legit having his best season since his Super Bowl season.
Our bottom 5 on the offense, we've got James Mitchell. Taylor Decker had a rough outing.
This is his first game back from an ankle. I don't know that he's entirely healthy.
Yeah, I would assume so as well. Marvin Jones Jr., which I'm not even sure. We should just send him over to LA, and then they can send us Van Jefferson, because neither are happy, and maybe they just need a change of pace.
I would be willing to do that, yes.
Right. And Antoine Green, the other, he's a rookie, right? If I remember right.
7th rounder.
So he had a rougher day. But the thing that I found interesting about this, like all the way down into about 10th, 11th, I mean, we got Green, like 60. If you're Green, you're good. Like you played well. And I like seeing so many Green in the grades. Whereas last year we'd have like 5 and then a whole bunch of, like yellow and orange, and then, more than just 1 red. But like it's distinctly different this year with the quantity. Just like the entire baseline of what we're doing is so much better.
Are there more people than 18 on that list?
No. There were 18 people on offense that apparently had plays. And if anybody wonders why Gibbs maybe not be getting as many snaps, it might be his pass blocking, because it's garbage.
Well, he's not supposed to be.
Well, I mean, the running backs will like chip and all that kind of stuff, and he's just not like he's 78.2.
Yeah, but look at their builds, man. I mean, David Montgomery is a legit bowling ball. Like,
I understand that, but that's kind of my point. Is like one of the things that we need to keep Jared Goff upright and successful is time. He needs time. We don't want him flushed out of the pocket. So we need that kind of chip work. So I don't know if it's just.
Well, then what Jahmyr Gibbs can do to help with that is to catch the check down, which he seems to not do. It's like the biggest thing as to why I'm frustrated with him is that, like, I have seen at least three opportunities for him to just catch like easy checkdowns, and he like looks away right before the ball gets there, or he ran the wrong route, so Jared Goff threw an interception, a pick 6, or whatever. But like it just drives me crazy that like this guy is not just literally feasting on checkdown passes.
Yeah. And we would pick on Goff and call him Captain Checkdown. And he hasn't done that nearly as much this year.
His average depth of target has been way up. I mean, like there were points in the Green Bay game where it was like 11, 12, 9, 11, 10, 11, 11, and I was just like, yes, fine, great. This is wonderful.
Yeah, actually, let's I'll find it here. Goff. So that's what his passing looked like. That's for all of them. Let's go week 4. Where's Goff? Come on, Jared.
There he is.
So this was week 4. Like, it was a good mix. Left, right, center, downfield. His touchdown was about a 19-yarder.
Yeah, that was
20.
That was the play that the slot corner fell down and St. Brown was behind everybody.
Hey, We're not going to be like, well, I'm sorry, he fell
I'll
down. We
take
should
it.
try this one again, right?
Yeah, I'll take it. But like 2 of his touchdowns this year have come from just broken coverages, and the dude is like wide open. I mean, like wide, not no one in 10 yards of him.
Yeah,
You know, like
Sam
cool.
Laporta was the other one, right?
Yeah, Sam Laporta was like the 45-yarder. But like I've been arguing with people about Jared Goff's deep ball, and I'm like, he doesn't have a deep ball. Like the dude can throw somewhere between 45 and 50 yards somewhat accurately, but like only if he gets his feet set and steps into it. Right. I mean, he's not just going to flick his wrist and the ball's going to go 55.
And he's not doing that unless it's a broken play. Like it's a West Coast offense, and if he recognizes a broken play, he'll go deep.
Right.
Which is fine. Like, hey,
fine.
If we win every game because it's a West Coast offense and he looks for the broken play for going deep, I don't fucking care.
That's great with me.
I just want to win.
Yeah. Bring it to Detroit.
On the defensive side, like you said, our line did really well. Branch is probably, assuming health, going to be defensive rookie of the year. He is killing it. So Comiskey was an 84.9, which is a great grade. McNeil had another big game. Branch for the every game in a row. Anceloni was really solid. He was in our top, and then Hutchinson also rounded our top 5. Just like in the offense, though, like all the green keeps going until you get to like 13, 14. Like our defense just played really well. Jerry Jacobs, 67.3 after the first 2 games where I'm like, you should just cut him. He's kind of redeemed himself a little bit, weeks 3 and 4.
No, they should
played okay. I mean, we got Will Harris down here at 18.
I just hate it. I just hate everything about it.
Campbell, our first-round draft choice, is yet again near the bottom.
Getting more snaps, though.
He is. His tackling's better. Like, we are tackling better as a team. So this was this week. Those were kind of our top 5, bottom 5 on the offense and defense. And then the other thing I wanted to kind of point out are on the season, Goff is killing it. Like, one of the things I complained about last year was our quarterback was not usually in our top 5 for offensive grades. And I'm like, if your quarterback's not one of your top 5 players, your top 5 performers, you're probably not going to win. And he's been very consistent. He's been really good this year. St. Brown, not a surprise there. He's going to make bank at renewal time or extension time. Ragnow's played well. Sam Laporta as a rookie's been killing it. Vaitai was doing really well and he got hurt, so that's kind of a bummer. But look at all these deep green in that like 70 and above. I love it.
Yeah, Dan Skipper with his one game.
Yeah, well, but he played well that game.
So
and then, yeah.
Can you scroll to the right, please? I'm wondering if they'll give Aiden's pass rush win rate.
I don't believe it has that.
Okay. No.
So it's his pressures.
So he's got. So I think that. Let's make that bigger again for the one person that's watching currently. He's becoming a legitimate pass rushing threat. So I think there's debate about who the best pass rusher in the NFL is. I think that you could say TJ Watt or Myles Garrett or Micah Parsons. And that's you're still or Nick Bosa, But like I think that he has worked himself into the 5 through 10 best pass rusher in the NFL. Like if you want to line somebody up on the other side of a tackle and have them win consistently, I think Aiden's getting close to that 5 to 10 range. And he's in year 2. But like if this is his trajectory and he gets to be like a 10, 12 sack player and generates 100 pressures a year, that's legit. That's number. Yeah. I mean, you cannot be upset with having drafted Aiden Hutchinson.
He was the NFC Defensive Player of the Week for the second time in 4 weeks.
I mean, like, do you know which other time he won? Is it 2 weeks in a row?
No, I think it was 2 weeks ago.
So week 2 and week 4?
Yeah, I think it was week 2. Probably not that week. Week 1? Maybe it was 2 weeks in a row. I bet it was. Because that was, he had 2 sacks, 4 hurries, 2 tackles, forced fumble. I bet it was 2 weeks in a row.
So, like, that's the kind of thing. I think that these first 4 games are kind of emblematic of, like, the team that Detroit can be. Like, Aiden is a constant. He's going to generate pressure. He's going to fuck shit up in the opponent's backfield. But the success that the team is going to have is going to be reliant upon Kaminsky, McNeil, Bugs, Benito Jones, Gerald Harris, Romeo Okwara, of like doing something positive when those things occur. So like we're 4 weeks in, he's got 27 pressures. So what is that, like 7 a game? And they're rushing him every time. Like, to be honest, anytime they drop him into coverage, it should be sacrilegious. So like, but like I think the whole season is the top 2 players. Like, it's Aiden Hutchinson and Brian Branch.
Yep.
Those 2 guys are great. They're great. But like getting Pascal back, who's only played in 1 game, like Kaminsky has been hurt and banged up. But what was the deal with Isaiah Bugs this season? Like he needs a tag team partner.
Yeah.
Somebody that's like, ooh, pick your poison. Does that need to be a Houston top 5 pick? Well, he's hurt.
Where did James Houston go?
Right.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
So like they're working on the back end, but like going into next season, I think that my team needs that this team wants to address are the same that they were going into last season. Get Aiden a tag team partner, get Cam Sutton a tag team partner, get Amon-Ra St. Brown a tag team partner. Like double up at these positions where you have somebody that when you can't go to the proven guy, the other up and coming good player is there to make the play right, clean it up, make it
we got that at positive. Safety. We got that at linebacker. Let's get it at cornerback and edge.
So help me God, if there is another linebacker that is added to this team in the offseason, so help me God, no one will ever hear the end of it. I will not stand by for a 5th linebacker being added to this roster.
So let's the other thing I want to kind of do is, so we looked at week 4, we looked at the year, and I want to take a quick peek at a couple of them where some of our guys are across the NFL. Goff among the quarterbacks this year is 3rd. Last year he finished at 20th.
Yeah.
Right? This is fucking great. Like, this is exactly what I wanted to see. I wanted to see, like, were those last 10 games an aberration? Were they an anomaly? Were they just we were trying to do things to reduce his interception? Because he was a turnover machine the first 6 or 7 games. He had, I think, 7 turnovers in the first 7 games. And then he went like over, like no turnovers for like 11, 12 games. And right now he is playing really, really well. If he ends up in the top 5 by the end of the season, I'm going to be absolute. Now, granted, we haven't played particularly tough opponents. I don't care. Like, last year we played some bad teams and he didn't play well. This year we played bad teams and he's played well. We played a good team or 2. He's played well. Just keep playing well. That's all I care about. That's how we win.
Yeah. I think they scored more points and the offense was quote unquote more explosive last year, but I prefer this Goff to the Goff of last year. So like the one that doesn't make as many impactful mistakes, some of them were impactful, but like as mistakes often are, but like I just want him to play well consistently.
Yeah.
You know, and
he was very roller coastery last year.
Right. So, and this has been consistent through 4 games. So, knock on wood, this continues. He's been kept clean. He's not trying to make things happen. He's operating inside the confines of the system, all to the good.
On the wide receiver side, St. Brown's in the top 10. I will say I've been loving watching Puka Nacua come out of fucking nowhere to be just.
The number of catches that dude has through 4 weeks is insane. How many catches does he have?
I don't know if this is gonna. Of course, it didn't. Puka
Just
Nacua. You player page.
39.
39.
He has 10 catches a game. As a
rookie, as a 5th round pick, as a rookie, he is leading tied for the league.
500 yards receiving.
He is first in receptions and second in receiving yards with over 500. He only has 1 receiving touchdown because they get down there and they ran. Like their running back has 5.
Was living off that.
Yeah. But like
they're throwing it to him 12
so much
times
fun
a game.
to watch. Yeah,
that's insane.
He's been really, really fun to watch. So I've been enjoying that. But like on the Lions side, we've got St. Brown at 9, and surprisingly to me, Reynolds at 17 and Khalif Raymond at 19. We've got 3 guys in the top 20.
With Josh Reynolds playing this well, you can't play Marvin Jones. Like Marvin Jones needs to be wide receiver 4 or worse
5
on this
well, because
roster.
JMO, right?
Well, so JMO's coming. We haven't really talked about that. So we'll see what his snap count looks like in Carolina if he plays.
Yeah.
What?
Yeah, keep going.
No, it's fine.
Halfbacks. The highest line is Montgomery. 71.9 is not terrible, but it's still only like good for 20th on the list. Do you find it interesting that Buffalo has 2 of them in the top 10, tied at 8? The one I think that I find interesting as well, Sam Laporta, our rookie, number 3 performant tight end in the NFL. That's awesome.
They give him a ton of work.
They do. And we've talked about it. Like, is he getting a lot of work because he's playing really well, or is he getting really good stats and grades because he's got a ton of work? And I think it's a little from column A, a little from column B.
Probably.
Flip over to defense, safeties. We got Melifonwu up there in the top 20, so that's cool.
I'm betting they list Branch as a corner.
That's where I was expecting to see him, but let's see where he's at. Brian Branch, number 12. Yep.
The 45th pick in the draft is the 45th pick in the draft is the 12th best safety in the league. Win. So I would have taken him at 18, by the way.
Instead of Jack Campbell?
Yes.
Yeah, right.
If it was me,
see you, Donkey.
We don't have to get into this. Oh, see you, Donkey Kong. Have a good night, Mark. We don't have to get into this again, but I would have gone Carter, Branch, and then we'll see who's on the board in the second round.
Yeah. Hutch, 10th as an edge defender.
Right where we thought.
Yeah, top 10. That's where we want him to go.
Who the fuck is Andrew Van Ginkel? Is that a joke?
I don't know.
Oh my God! Who cloned him?
Like
Anzalone?
Yeah. Never heard of him, but the Dolphins are just outperforming everybody's expectations. So
good for them.
So anyway, that's kind of a quick look at what the Lions are, where our big guys are, kind of rated around the league. And then let's you want to just kind of switch over, going from week 4 to week 5, and kind of talk about preview Carolina.
Yeah,
let's do it. We're at home, so that's cool. They beat us last year. That essentially took us out of the playoffs. We have to be pissed. Like this, we've got to be thinking this is a revenge game, don't we?
No.
You don't think so?
Revenge games come against teams that are good. I think. Or teams
I mean, that's fair, but like more of like a personal revenge as opposed to like we are better than what we did last year. Like it's not a matter of like the opponent, revenge against the opponent, more of like redemption game, I guess is more what I'm thinking.
So if I was Dan Campbell, what I would be saying is this team embarrassed you last year. Deuce Staley left to go to this team, although to be around his mother, who is not in good health. But like, I would be like, they absolutely embarrassed you last year. Are you going to stand for that this year? That kind of thing.
Yeah.
I don't think there's. I know you hate it when I say this, but I don't think there's any way they can lose, to be honest.
Yeah.
I mean, I have watched Carolina play 2 games so far this year. They have looked horrible. They lost their top corner yet again. In 2021, they took him at like 8 or whatever. I can't remember his name. His dad played in the NFL. Was a Saint Horn, Joe Horn. His last name was Horn. And he's out.
Joe.
Yep, Joe Horn. And then so he's out. Bryce Young has looked terrible, absolutely terrible. And their line cannot run block or pass block. So my expectation is the last 2 weeks, the Lions had like 6 sacks and then 5 sacks. I think that you're going to see the same kind of pressure totals. I think that Bryce Young is going to make some mistake that they're going to capitalize on. And that midway through the third quarter, you're just going to get Montgomery, Gibbs, Gibbs. Repeat ad nauseum, run the clock out. They have no one that they can throw the ball to. If Brian Branch plays, they literally, I don't know that they can complete a pass. Like their best wide receiver is Adam Thielen, and Cam.
They might throw toward Will Harris or Jerry Jacobs. So,
if I was
got about a 75% chance.
If I was Will Harris and Jerry Jacobs, the coaching staff had better be like, "Hey guys, guess what? They are throwing at you today."
Yeah.
So
let's scheme around your limitations.
I just
help
don't.
These boys out.
I literally don't see any phase of this game that Carolina is better than Detroit in at all.
Yeah.
And so, like, I just don't. I think you have to avoid mistakes. Don't get cute.
Yep.
And then just go out there and just handle business and fucking baby seal them.
Yeah.
You know, like.
It's one of those where this is going to be a game where if we lose a turnover battle, that's the only thing that's really can keep us down, right?
You have to limit big plays and mistakes.
Yep. So when you go like position by position, who has the best receiver? Receiving crew?
It's Amon-Ra St. Brown, and it's not even close.
Right. And as a receiving group, it's us, right?
Yeah.
Which team has the best run game?
It's the Lions.
Which team has the better quarterback?
The Lions, and that's not close.
Which team has the better offensive line?
Lions. Even hurt, I think they. Yeah. Even hurt, I think the Lions have the better offensive line.
Which team has the better defensive line?
That's the Lions, obviously. Here, I will say this though. Like that's probably the closest unit to unit group, because Brian Burns is as good as Aiden Hutchinson.
He's good.
And I think that their other guys can be as good as, say, maybe the
like a James Houston
third through fifth guys on the Lions D line. So I think the important thing for me in the defensive line matchup is how well is Aleem McNeil going to play?
Yeah.
So, but the thing that has gotten Bryce Young in trouble through the first 4 weeks is he is horrific under pressure because there's nowhere to go with the ball.
Yeah.
And I would be sending
is bad for under pressure.
There's
nowhere to go.
I would rush one guy every time that he has the ball, like every play. Like Jack Campbell, go. Anzalone, go. Anyone else want in, go. Like
Branch, go for it.
Why not? I mean, like
Kirby.
Yeah, send Kirby.
Sick him, Kirby.
Yeah, do whatever.
Yeah.
But like, this would be a game where I'm like, get your hands up. He's going to run around, like just work, wear him down. And if this team gets down 10 points, it's over.
He's short. He's short.
Very short. He's very short.
And he, even though he went number 1, Stroud has been killing it. Like he's played really well.
So the big question about CJ Stroud was the Georgia game that he played in, was that more like CJ Stroud and he just never had to do that? Or was that a one-off?
Yeah.
And right now it looks like that's who he really is.
Yeah.
And
he was the guy that I was hoping that we would end up with.
Yeah, they're 2-2.
I know. Yeah.
They beat Pittsburgh. I mean, that's not like Pittsburgh of old or any shit, but like I don't think Vegas had Pittsburgh to win that game.
Yeah. I think they did.
They didn't just beat them either. They beat them. Like an unruly
capital
child.
B, capital E, capital A, capital
Like this
T.
is a thick rope.
Yeah.
Yeah, they look I mean, they don't look good, but like they look like, okay, these aren't, you don't just cross them off the calendar.
Yeah. I think you're right with this game. I think we should, assuming health and not some absurd number of turnovers, handle them pretty easily.
Yeah, I'm gonna bet the under on this game because I'll bet the line is gonna be something like 41 points. And
we're gonna get up like 26-0.
I think it's gonna be like 27-3, you know, like the first half of the Green Bay game at the end of it. And it's just gonna be like this game was never close. They kicked a field goal late, like you know, like it's just never gonna be close.
Yeah. I'm gonna be looking forward to being up in the division. Who's Green Bay playing this next week, you know?
You know what? I don't think about them much, so I don't.
Well, I only do so far as they are our closest competitors in the division. Green Bay appears to be Monday night against the Raiders.
I don't know, to be honest. I mean, like, if
Green
Aiden
Bay is
O'Connell
favored to win, but
so that's probably Garoppolo's not playing. They're starting their rookie from Purdue, Aiden O'Connell, who started their last game. Like, and if that's the case, they're probably. I would pick Green Bay to win against a rookie Purdue quarterback.
Yeah, Bears are going to be playing the Commanders on Thursday night, so that should be.
What is it with Thursday night and just terrible games?
I feel bad for Amazon. They're paying $1.1 billion for like 15 Thursday night games, and they're getting that kind of. Now, granted, I thought the Detroit Green Bay game. I mean, granted, as a Lions fan, I thought it was a great game to watch.
Sure.
If you were just an NFL fan that didn't care about Detroit or Green Bay, it was probably another one of these. It's kind of a stinker. We just blew them out. But I don't care because it's us.
Right.
The Bills are going to be playing Jacksonville at home. I think they should probably beat Jacksonville.
We just going to go through the whole schedule? Or?
You might as well, because why not? Because it's in front of me. The Colts have surprised me. I thought they were going to be a bottom 5 team, and they're 2-2. Well, that's true. They're 2-2. They're playing Tennessee. I think that's a pick 'em. The Texans versus the Falcons. You don't think the Titans versus Indianapolis?
I think the Titans take that game.
Interesting. Indy's favored to win right now.
Is it in Indy?
It's in Indy. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. I'd still think the Titans win. Yeah.
I think it's a pick 'em. I don't think either team are particularly good, and it'll probably be like a field goal, or it'll be a blowout because the bad version of a team showed up on the day that the good version of the other team showed up. I don't know. Texans in Atlanta against the Falcons. I don't pick them.
I got Houston in that one. They're playing well. CJ Stroud's playing so much better than Ritter.
I think they will. Atlanta's favored to win, but I think you're right. Houston's going to win.
Is it in Atlanta?
It's in Atlanta.
Yeah.
Still think that Atlanta's going to lose.
All right.
We're going to beat the Panthers. The Saints are playing in New England against the Patriots. The 2-2 Saints versus the 1-3 Patriots. Patriots are favored to win. I think that's another pick-em game. They're just Giants versus Dolphins. I think the Dolphins will blow them out. Ravens against Steelers. I think Ravens will probably
Kenny Pickett,
blow out the Steelers.
Kenny Pickett got hurt, so
yeah. Bengals, the 1-3 Bengals. I didn't think I was going to say that after we
they look so
against
bad.
the 1-3 Cardinals.
I got to imagine Cincinnati wins that game, but like
they have to, right?
They look awful right now, and I don't know why.
I don't either.
Is it just Joe Burrow being hurt?
I think so. I think him missing time.
Then that's the biggest drop off in sports. Joe Burrow should be the MVP of the NFL. If this is what he looks like having hurt his calf.
That reminds me of with Peyton Manning. When they basically won a Super Bowl, he gets hurt and then went like 2-15 or whatever.
Such a big difference.
Eagles in LA against the Rams. Eagles are favored.
I'm going to take the Rams.
You know what? After the Eagles play the way that they played last week, and assuming Stafford can stay upright because he was hurting. He was hurting last game. He could barely. He was hobbling around like he was. If he's healthy, I think the Rams can sneak out a victory there. I do. I'm not sure I'd put money on it, but I think it's
so scary.
Possible.
So fragile.
The 1-3 Jets versus the 1-3 Broncos. Unfortunately, they are not going to be flexing that to 3 a.m., so no one has to watch it. Denver's favored somehow. Apparently getting beat by 50 does not make them worse than the 1-3 Jets.
Would you rather bet on Russell Wilson or Zach Wilson? In the Wilson Bowl, who you got? And I know who I have. And the Jets are not the Dolphins.
The Jets are not the Dolphins. That is accurate. But I think the Jets have a better defense than the Broncos. I would take the Jets in that one.
Okay.
I'll take the Jets in that one.
All right.
The 3-1 Chiefs play the Vikings, and I want to see them beat the living shite out of the.
I'll take the Chiefs in that one.
Yeah. You think? And then I think one of the best games of the week is going to be Cowboys in San Francisco.
That looks like an NFC Championship preview right now. So
I hope not, because that means we're not in it.
Right. Which is what you and I both predicted before the season started.
That we were not going to be in it? Yeah.
Correct. Yeah. So no surprise there. When Dallas has won, they've totally buzzsawed people.
Yeah.
And San Francisco just looks great. You know, and like Brock Purdy has got now 17 starts under his belt. He's never lost when he started. That's interesting. And I just think that it speaks to how well built they are as a franchise.
Starts, right?
Hmm?
Regular season starts.
Well, he was hurt.
He was
hurt in that game. He didn't start that game.
Oh, he didn't? Oh,
he had a UCL. Jake Johnson started that game. Josh Johnson.
Yeah.
And they went back to him with the UCL tear when Johnson got
knocked out. Guys, we got nothing. Like, Brock, we'll fling your arm. If you could just hand it off to Christian all the time, we'll see what we can do.
That game is why they changed the rule for this year. So, like, it should be the Brock Purdy rule. But, like, he might be a game manager in the most QB-friendly system in the NFL. But, like, as the Detroit Lions fans are learning, I mean, the thing about Tom Brady that made him special was not his physical build.
This is for A6. Because he thinks Tom Brady is one of the most overrated players ever.
Well, I don't know how A6 explains away the rings then.
Well, Belichick, game manager. Like, he's nothing special.
Belichick's not on the field.
I don't know.
I mean, I get it. Like, for whatever reason, A6 doesn't like Tom Brady. Like, the results you just can't argue with.
Yeah. He is the most successful quarterback in history.
Yeah. And I mean, and like, no one needs to go further. I mean, if you don't like him for that, that's fine.
Yeah. I don't think he's the best quarterback in history. I think that's Peyton Manning. But being the best and being the most successful doesn't always line up.
Right.
Because there are 52 other people and a whole bunch of coaches that could be competent or incompetent depending on your team.
I mean, I don't I'm not gonna. I don't want to talk. I mean, like I've never want to talk about who's better, Peyton Manning or Tom Brady. I'm completely fine with both of those quarterbacks.
Yeah, they're essentially like 1A, 1B. I
don't care. Like, but like I'm also fine with it's like, hey, you can have Kurt Warner in his prime, sure. Okay, great. He won a ton of ball games too. Like, I don't dislike these people because they were successful or not successful. I only really dislike players in the NFL if they behave a certain way or if they play for teams that I hate, like the Jets, the Packers.
So who are you taking, Cowboys or Niners?
Oh, I got to go with the Niners. They just have not appeared to have any weaknesses. There's no injuries on that team to date. And I don't know, is it in Dallas or San Francisco?
In San Francisco.
Yeah, okay. Like scale tipper.
Yeah, I think it's going to be a pick. I would like to see, I'm going to say this out loud and I'm going to regret it because it's being recorded. I would like to see the Cowboys win.
Why?
I'd like to see, number one, I don't want to see San Francisco go undefeated. And this is going to be one of those opportunities to have that loss. And I think all this hype around Brock Purdy, I don't think he's that great of a quarterback. He's pretty bad.
He's produced though.
Sure. Like you said, on one of the best teams constructed in the NFL right now. And like I don't think he's bad. I don't think he's anything special. So I'd like to see the Cowboys get some real good pressure on him, see what he does, because he hasn't really faced a ton of that.
Okay, so let me ask you this.
I want to see that. And I want, if he goes, Micah Parsons is all over us and he still thrives under pressure, then I'd like to see him win. But like if he's going to crumble under pressure, I want to see them get squished.
Okay, so let me ask you this. If Dallas gets pressure and they're the team that has generated the most pressure on QB so far this season.
Yep.
If they get pressure on Purdy and he wins that game, or if the Niners win that game, I want to hear, okay, maybe I was wrong about Brock Purdy. Because I don't need him to be a good quarterback. Like it's Brock Purdy versus Josh Buffalo Bills quarterback. Allen.
Yeah.
Like who do you want? Well, I want Josh Allen every time.
Yeah.
But that doesn't mean that like Brock Purdy. I mean, there's lots of talented quarterbacks in shitty situations that aren't doing anything.
Yeah.
And like this guy,
a lot of like quarterback ranks, like the NFC West quarterback rank them. And like Brock Purdy, and then Geno Smith, and Matt Stafford, and then whoever the fuck is in Arizona, Kyler Murray, although he's not their guy, right? So I'm like, I think it's pretty clear to me. Matt Stafford is the best quarterback in that division. I think Geno Smith is probably number 2. Brock Purdy is probably number 3 when you talk about best quarterback. But, and then you look at some of the other divisions, you kind of see those same kind of like arguments, like rank your quarterbacks in the division. I don't know. I'm not sold on him being a great quarterback. He's being successful. He's reducing mistakes, which is important. So I don't know. I'd just like to see him go up against a good team with a lot of pressure and see how he performs. So.
Okay.
And then Monday night is the Packers versus the Raiders.
Packers.
Packers, unfortunately. I'd love to see the Raiders come out and wallop them, but because of Green Bay, I want everybody to wallop them.
This was something that was interesting. Like, if the Raiders are not in the running by the trade deadline, and Devontae Adams says, I don't want to play on this team anymore. I only have X numbers of years left. Trade me somewhere. The Lions should make that trade.
So what are you thinking? Are you thinking Devontae Adams, Amon-Ra St. Brown, Jameson Williams, and then Josh Reynolds? That'd be absurd.
I mean, like,
so good.
It would be great. I mean, they're not going to run 4 wide. They're going to be 3 wide. But, like, I would give up a
it'd be,
one and
well,
a
it'd be
three.
J-Mo and Devontae on the ends, and then Amon-Ra underneath.
Perfect.
Right?
That is a perfect wide receiving core, assuming Jameson is as advertised, right? But like,
and even if he's not,
I would give up a 1 and a 3 to get Devontae Adams on this team. Like, it. How do you use your draft
that one's
picks?
going to be in the high 20s, hopefully, maybe low 30s.
Bye. Like the question, like, and I'm an advocate for draft pick value.
Yeah.
But if you're going to take anything from what Les Snead has taught the NFL, it's like, how do you use your picks to make your team the most successful?
Yeah.
And like, my big three problems with the Detroit Lions right now is no pass rusher across from Aiden, no wide receiver across from St. Brown, no cornerback across from Cam Sutton. And Devontae Adams would be a good one to have.
Yeah.
So you want to get to the NFC Championship game, you got to make a move like that.
Yeah.
I think.
I agree. So, I mean, I think it would be great. I don't think you have to, but if it's available.
Yeah, if it's like, in a month, if we're like, oh, this player is unhappy, oh, like he wants out or whatever, like I would call them up and be like, hey man, we will legit take that dude off their hands. They have the space, they have the resources, they have the need. I don't understand what the problem would be.
Yeah. All right, let's wrap this thing up, buddy.
All right, man.
There's our Discord. I've got it in the show notes as well. So join. We got a few people joining the Discord, so that's fun.
Yeah.
And then of course the begging for subscribers part, right? Yeah.
Shameless.
Every Tuesday. Shameless. Yes. Like, comment, subscribe on YouTube. It'll help us get the show out there. I think we're around 83 subscribers right now. We talked about once we hit 100, maybe doing a live stream again, like not like this, but like probably during a game is what we're thinking, right, Drew?
Yeah. So we'll if we hit 100, at least Joey 2 times was like, hey, I think it was Joey, was like, hey, you should do a game live. That would be interesting, and like I think it would be fun to do that with you. Maybe we do the setup that we did for the draft.
Oh yeah, we can do that.
And just watch it and be like, oh, or yay. So like, yeah, it could be interesting. I have a hard time believing people would watch, but we'll do it. So
yeah, I mean, if that's what people want, we will give the
people
they want.
Because we love the people.
We do. This is a fun community to be in, especially when we're winning.
Right. Yeah, it's always a key variable. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, we will see everybody next Tuesday after we just hopefully beat the living crap out of Carolina. Yeah, and I'd love to see the Packers lose. So that would be a great weekend for me. But until next Tuesday, we will catch y'all later.
See ya.
See ya.